The ocean is calm. The sky above the horizon glows red with the setting sun. But beneath the waves, something ancient stirs. A kingdom hidden for thousands of years. A king who rules not just a people, but 70% of the planet itself. That king is Aquaman. And high above, soaring over cities, saving lives, a different king. A symbol. A god among men. The man of steel. Superman. Two rulers. Two protectors. But only one world. And when their visions clash, the entire earth trembles. This is not just a battle of strength. It's a battle of survival. For the land. For the sea. For the future of humanity. So, how did these two titans find themselves at war? Let's dive into the true story. It begins with a warning. The seas had grown restless. Ships disappearing without a trace. Entire coastlines swallowed by monstrous waves. Aquaman had spoken to the surface world many times before. Pleaded with them to stop poisoning the oceans, to stop drilling into the seabed, to stop treating his kingdom like garbage. But this time it was different. Atlantean scouts had discovered something horrifying. Nuclear warheads. Secretly dumped into deep trenches by corrupt governments. Hidden where no one was supposed to see. But Aquaman saw. And when he confronted the world's leaders, they laughed at him. They called him a myth. A king of fairy tales. But Superman listened. The two met in the Hall of Justice. Superman promised to help. He would speak to the leaders. He would remove the weapons. He would bring peace. But Aquaman was done with promises. I am not asking for help, he told Superman. I am giving a warning. And then the seas rose. A wall of water swallowed Metropolis. Gotham's docks vanished under the tide. Even faraway cities felt the ocean's wrath. This was not a threat. This was war. Superman raced to save lives, to push back the water with his strength, with his speed. But he was not fast enough to stop it all. Thousands were lost. And for the first time in his life, he realized, maybe he couldn't save everyone. When he returned to confront Aquaman, the king of Atlantis stood at the shore, trident in hand. His eyes burned with fury. You protect the land. I protect the sea. But your world has left me no choice. If the surface will not respect the oceans, then the oceans will reclaim the surface. And in that moment, Superman understood. This was not a debate. This was a declaration. The king of Atlantis was not asking for justice. He was demanding it. The stage was set. The land versus the sea. The man of steel versus the king of Atlantis. And neither was ready to surrender. The first blow did not come from Superman. It came from the ocean itself. A massive tidal surge struck the eastern seaboard, rising like a living wall. It tore through ports, harbors, and entire neighborhoods. To Aquaman, this was not war. It was justice. To Superman, it was slaughter. The man of steel raced into the flood, pulling people from collapsing bridges, catching ships before they capsized, using his heat vision to boil away falling debris. But for every life he saved, the sea claimed two more. And then he saw him, Aquaman, standing on the back of a monstrous whale, trident raised, his armor glistening like molten gold. Around him swarmed Atlantean warriors, sleek, armored soldiers armed with energy-forged blades. Superman landed before him. His cape snapped in the storm winds. His voice was calm, but unshakable. This has to stop, Arthur. People are dying. Aquaman's reply was cold. They have been killing my people for centuries. I warned them. They ignored me. Now, they will feel the ocean's grief. Superman clenched his fists. You've become the very thing you swore to protect them from. A tyrant. Aquaman's eyes narrowed. No. I am their king. And you? You are not mine to command. And then the ocean struck again. Giant sea creatures, leviathans born of Atlantean bioscience, rose from the depths. Their scales glowed with eerie light as they tore through oil rigs and warships. Atlantean soldiers clashed with military forces on the surface, blades slicing through steel like paper. Superman moved like lightning. He shattered weapons, disarmed soldiers, even fought back the Leviathans with raw strength. But he was holding back. Always holding back. 'Cause deep inside he didn't want to hurt Arthur. But Aquaman was not holding back. The king of the sea hurled his trident with thunderous force. It carried the power of the ocean itself, striking Superman so hard it sent him crashing through a mountain ridge. For the first time in years, Clark Kent felt pain. He stood, brushing rubble from his shoulders, eyes burning red. Aquaman, don't make me do this. But Aquaman was already upon him. Trident met fist. Water met steel. The earth itself shook as two kings collided. Their battle stretched across continents. From the crashing waves of the Atlantic, to the frozen wastelands of the Arctic, to the shattered docks of Gotham Harbor. Each blow carried the weight of kingdoms. For Aquaman it was vengeance. For Superman it was restraint. But restraint has limits. At last, Superman caught Aquaman mid-strike. He pinned him against the cliffs, heat vision glowing at full power. The air itself sizzled around them. Enough! Superman roared. For a moment the ocean grew still. The storm winds slowed. Even the Leviathans hesitated. And Aquaman finally spoke. You think this is about me? About Atlantis? No. This is about balance. The land has grown arrogant. The surface has taken and taken. And now the seas take back. Superman lowered his heat vision, his anger wavering. Because for the first time he saw the truth in Arthur's words. This was not madness. This was desperation. But before peace could be found, another force entered the war. From the horizon, missiles streaked through the sky. Entire fleets of warships had been launched by terrified world leaders. They weren't aiming at Superman. They weren't aiming at Atlantis. They were aiming at both. And now the Man of Steel and the King of the Seas faced a choice. Keep fighting each other, or face the true enemy together. The sky burned with fire. Hundreds of missiles cut through the storm clouds, their trails blazing white against the blackened horizon. Warships closed in from every direction, their guns aimed at both Superman and Aquaman. To the world's governments, there was no difference between the Man of Steel and the King of the Seas. Both were threats. Both had to be stopped. Aquaman's eyes widened with rage. They dare fire on me? On Atlantis? Superman's jaw tightened. They're scared. Of you. Of me. Of what we might become. And in that moment, both kings realized the truth. Their war had only invited a greater one. The first missile struck the water with a deafening roar, sending a geyser of fire and steam into the sky. Dozens followed, detonating across the surface. Leviathans screamed as the ocean boiled. Atlantean soldiers were torn apart by shrapnel. Innocents, sailors, fishermen, coastal families were caught in the crossfire. Superman launched into the sky, faster than any missile. He caught them mid-flight, tearing warheads apart with his bare hands, hurling them into space before they could detonate. But for every one he stopped, 5 more slipped past. Aquaman, furious, summoned the fury of the deep. Whales the size of fortresses breached the surface, shielding his armies. Krakens with tentacles longer than skyscrapers wrapped around entire submarines, dragging them into the abyss. The battle had shifted. No longer Superman versus Aquaman. Now it was Earth itself versus its kings. But alliances forged in fire burn brighter than rivalries. When an aircraft carrier launched a final wave of nukes, Aquaman raised his trident, channeling all the power of the seas. The ocean rose into a colossal wall, miles high, swallowing the warheads before they reached shore. The blast tore the wave apart. But the coastline was spared. Superman landed beside him, chest heaving, cape torn. His voice was steady, but heavy. If we keep this up, the surface and the sea will destroy each other. No one wins. Aquaman's knuckles tightened around his trident. For a moment, he looked ready to strike Superman again. But then he lowered it. They declared war on Atlantis. But you're right. This war destroys us all. And so enemies became allies. Together they turned against the fleets. Superman tore through drones and jets, disabling them without killing their pilots. Aquaman summoned storms, waves, and creatures of the deep to drag weapons into the abyss. Not as conquerors, not as executioners, but as protectors. Yet, even as they fought side by side, the world watched in fear. News broadcasts showed Superman burning missiles mid-air. They showed Aquaman summoning monsters that could flatten cities. To the people of Earth, this did not look like salvation. It looked like gods battling for dominion. And in the aftermath, when the fleets were sunk, the missiles destroyed. When the world spared from annihilation, the question remained, what happens when kings no longer trust each other? Superman turned to Aquaman, his voice low, almost weary. This isn't over, Arthur. You want the seas to be respected. I understand that. But there's a better way than war. Aquaman's expression was unreadable. The storm still raged around them, his golden armor flickering in the lightning. You talk of peace. But the surface will never stop taking. One day I may not be able to hold back. And when that day comes, Superman, will you stop me? Or will you join me? Superman didn't answer. He simply rose into the clouds, vanishing into the storm. Aquaman returned to the waves, sinking beneath the ocean's dark embrace. The world had been saved. For now. But the line between king and conqueror had grown thinner than ever. Because in the end, Superman and Aquaman were not just guardians of Earth. They were its greatest threats. And somewhere in the deep, the seas whispered, "This is not the end. This is only the beginning."